Hey guys, it's Ryan, and this week it's a little different, a bit more freeform video on my thoughts on the Out of Production Armies coming back, and a look at my custom mission that I wrote and then submitted to Infinity Gamers mission competition. I just wanted to put out an Infinity video ahead of my upcoming Warband video that'll be the next one on the channel, and other stuff that I'm building up on in the future. And also because I have an old world video and not everyone likes the old world. And anyway, if you like this, or in the old world, remember to like and subscribe the video. It really helps me out. Now, let's quickly talk about some old armies. So, Legacy slash Out of Production slash Out of Catelogue slash the old ones slash French are coming back. They're coming back. This video drops on the 2nd, and I am currently doing the initial script and this recording on the 13th or the 14th of August. So in that 2 weeks, it's liable to change, knowing Corvus Belli, when I do videos. But let's start with what we know post-Gen Con up until the 13th of August. What we know and what the rumblings are from Warcores is that they are coming back within the year. They are also bringing out a new app soon, and if those coincide, I won't be shocked. In fact, I almost expect it, because I know from experience, I'll be damned if you don't just do 2 releases at once. Anyway, that means the return of Akinsamento, NCA, Verd, Caledonia, Murph, and Spiral Core, as far as we know. I don't think the NA2s are coming back, but yeah, that's still 7 or 8 out of the 9 or 10 out of production sectorials. And I'm pretty happy this is happening. This isn't going to be a vol take where I'm just going to fix the game before you bring back Legacy. Brrr. No, that's not the intent. This is, in my opinion, the fulfillment. Well, it's not my opinion, it's true. This is the fulfillment of their day one promise to bring back the Legacy armies or Out of Production armies. I've been playing a lot of Warhammer. The Out of Production armies sometime in the future. So I'm happy to see this, and I'm glad it's coming, but they ain't getting plus points for doing something they said they'd do a year ago. If you were conspiratorial in your thinking, and I am a little, you might say this is essentially to temper and chill out the community for the fact that Combined Army is getting a 4th army in a fucking month, and Ard has only 2 armies in productions, as does Aleph and O12, and Corvus Belli's commitment was to support 3 armies in each faction, and 4 is greater than 3, I think. I'll need to check in with my daughter. I don't believe it, but I don't believe it. It's nice to see them coming back, but I have thoughts on it. So let's start with the good. The good thing is the panel sectors are going to be lit, as the kids say. I don't use lit. Why did I type that? Anyway, Akon and Verd were middling in N4. They were doing okay at the end of it, and will probably slot nicely into N5 with just how panel is designed. Not a breadth of options, but it's hard to deny a BS15 min-6 tag and Helots. I know Vanilla is doing that, but Varuna is going to be fine. And then you have fake bolts, and Kamau are pretty good. I'm getting distracted. Anyway, Akon might struggle a little, but KCF steals their thunder quite a bit, but it's ultimately going to be fine. And this is going to assume that this is a straight port from N4 to N5, just with new costs. So for example, the Garda di Assalto is probably going to get so fucking cheap. It's already was it 39 points for a BS15 model? That's ridiculous. It's going to be 35 points or something. And then the 5 extra points for it's going to be 40 points for a BS15 model. That is incredible. Now let's talk about NCA, who will have had their thunder stolen a little by KFC, but considering they were kind of shit hot at the end of N4, I think they're going to be absolutely fine in N5. Also, it was basically better than Svalharema and NMO, and I'm expecting it to come back and continue to be mildly better than them now. Not to mention that this is all bringing back the old tags as well. That I don't know if that means the Mark 1, since that was originally meant to be gutted when reinforcements dropped. But we can definitely expect to see the Drago and the Ulan again, and those guys were amazing in N4. Now, the second best thing about all this coming back is that people get to use their collections and play the game more. I know that's a cop-out, but it's great. I can use my Caledonians, not just as Cosmoflot, but my dogs, because they're gathering dust. Except my ginger one, she's not gathering dust. She's sleeping right now. As the rest of my Mormares and Greys, I would like to use more than one model a tournament. Finally, the best bit about this overall really is that more players are coming back. This got announced, and then like 30 minutes later, I'm like seeing faces that I haven't seen in like a year or two show back up and be like, hey, what's the deal? And when's this going to happen? And can I play this? And can I play that? And that's just fantastic. I'm glad to see these people back because they were rightfully pretty mad about being dropped in N5, particularly the Varuna players who were like, I had no notice until I had notice. And I'm like, yeah, I at least had an idea that Caledonia was dead for a long time, and I made my peace with it. Speaking of, let's talk about the bad points behind this. Specifically, the state Murph and Caledonia are going to be in. I don't know about Spyro. They could be dude. Everyone likes Duos and Heresies this edition, and that was their gimmick. Anyway, why is this bad? Okay, well, look, I'm happy to play Caledonia. Like, I mean, I had a video, though, like halfway through N4 being like, look, Caledonia needs another half of the sectorial to be playable. And, like, God help Metrovinia, who are basically the worst USARF. And USARF is currently out of production. But, like, my main fear is that I was kind of struggling in N4. Not really, but it was an interesting challenge to build a 15-order Caledonia list with 200-300 points. And in N5, most things got cheaper. So my Caledonia list may not have enough models that are greater than 20 points to actually get us to 300 points. My army might be too cheap to play a full point value game. I'm thinking about what models are over 30 points in Caledonia in N4, and the answer was Mormares and Wolvers and Wallace. That was it. And Cadian. Cadian's now 28 points. Wolvers, only the Mark 12 was over 30 points. And the Mormar was, I think, 40 and 35 for the AP HMG and the AP T2 rifle. Yeah, this is going to be... I'm going to spam so many Mormars. Yeah, so this is going to be a huge concern for me, that the new old Ard factions are going to struggle. But to be honest... The last 2 points on why this is good, I don't think it will matter. If you want to play these armies, you'll make them worth. Like, if people genuinely are excited for the Metrovinia coming back, I can't stomp them. They love it. I'm excited for, well, I have tempered expectations on Caledonia coming back. But yeah, it's going to be awkward, but it's probably going to be fine. I do think that me being negative on this point is largely expectations. I was kind of accepted of Caledonia's death about quite late into N4 before we knew N5 was coming. So, you know, this to me isn't now like a serious tournament army. This is I'm going to have a fun day, a gaming day. I'm going to play 3 dogs and like all heavy infantry, and I'm just going to try and kill things. Or this is like my demo day army where I'm playing against the new players. They bring their shiny Bakunin and I bring my less shiny dogs and I eat them. It's not my tournament piece, that's my military orders army, but this is probably not going to win any awards, either of them are, except for maybe best painted. So the current assumptions and rumblings generally is that this will just be a port. That's kind of what I've heard, not necessarily directly from Corvus Belli, but from what War Corps are saying, and they have probably been slightly corrected by Corvus Belli, and which is why the point above kind of weighs on my mind. A Highlander Grey is 20 points for T2 boarding shotgun, and now shotguns are probably about 3-4 points cheaper. It's armor 3, that's going to be maybe a point reduction. Is this going to be a 15-point dogged heavy infantry? I kind of hope so, because last time from N3 to N4, it got a melee buff to offset the fact it got cheaper. So maybe if we keep making the grey cheaper and cheaper, we might have the next Martial Arts 5 model, and it might be in Caledonia. If it is just a port, well, Caledonia and Murph aren't really looking like much, and we probably won't see anything added at all to either the Out of Catelogue or the vanilla armies when it comes. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love the Mormare to be in vanilla, or the Ulan in Pano, or any number of little things. Hell, the Vestel would be a huge change to Caledonia, but it's just probably not going to happen. The saving grace of this is that some of the units did get fairly reasonable upgrades in N5, since the Scots, SAS, Usha, Catarander and Cosmoflot wasn't great updates and literally just ports now that I think of it. The same with Murph, but at least half of Corvus Belli's work is done, and I don't think it will take much longer to get the rest updated if it's just a port. Hell, I'd even give it a go, and I was like, damn, greys are cheap now. I hope Corvus Belli does more than just a raw port, but I mean, it is what it is. Double or even triple Dogdonia is in fact coming. Final bit before I get onto the custom mission is that I've heard not once, but twice, people mused or be concerned that old stuff might be too good and might have to be proactively or post-release balanced for Corvus Belli to make sure the meta isn't disrupted. And guys, I saw the N3 to N4 transition. They are not going to be that good. They're not going to get any post-introduction updates either beyond the absolute minimum. I do expect like 1 or 2 units of the like 6 or 7 sectorials coming back to be very pushed and slightly above the power curve, like the Ulan. Maybe Wolvers or Greys will be godly, but they're going to be utter outliers. And I'm sorry I sound so negative. This is realism. But I reckon it's going to be like 3 to 6 months before a out of production faction wins a bigger tournament. And even then, I'm almost willing to put money down that it's either going to be Spiral Core, because it's a great unknown to me, I was very nearly into it, or NCA. Overall, to sum up, I'm very happy that Corvus Belli are in fact sticking to their word on this. Pano is going to be eating well. I don't think it will add much to the vanillas or other sectorial armies, but I am happy to see it and play Caledonia, even if I am in sheer dread of trying to build a 300 point list in N5 when everything is so cheap for a cheap faction. Just let me do 300. Just let me have 30 orders in the list. Yeah, let me go back to Spamadonia. That was wild. Now let's talk about my custom mission. Okay, so the main reason for this video was originally to talk over it and have Infinity and a Old World video go up around the same time so that everyone had a little bit of something, and to finally try out this 2 videos in a video cycle. And I had an idea for a custom mission, so I'm like, I can bump this out in like a week if need be. But then like 2 weeks ago, Infinity Gamer put out a custom mission competition. So I put this custom mission up for it that I had already kind of done anyway. Anyway, go check out that video and see how it goes. If this video disqualifies me, because I don't know, but all the missions in it are like free and open. I don't really care if I win. I just want my mission out there. Maybe people like it. So let's talk about the mission itself. So why this mission? Well, locally we have a mission called The Brawl, and it's an armory style mission where you uniquely get points by killing stuff in the box, as well as dominating it and pressing some button. And I like it, and I used it in my Escalation League, and I might use it in another tournament that is coming up as well. I haven't decided this. Either it's going to be this one or The Brawl, and The Brawl is fun. But I like that mission, and I have come to kind of like Frostbite this edition, and I had the name The High Road in my head for a while. So I wanted to have some sort of creeping Frostbite-like mission, except flipped for hackable units, which it turns out is very similar to Panic Room. So combine those together with some elements of the Brawl that promotes brawling. Worth noting, I actually hate that song, the I'll take the high road and you take the road and I'll get to Scotland before you, because I used to work in a bar and that was like every Friday night song, like closing song. I would be telling people to bugger off, the bar is shut, and then in the background I was like, oh, I'll get I fucking forgot the words. Anyway, I detest that song. I genuinely detest it. I am more of a fan of Auld Lang Syne. So eventually changing the name because a road kind of isn't really like a square box. And with that in mind, I called it Life Raft. I might redesign it so it's like the thin strip in the middle. So it's a road, but like, yeah, do you know what? I've rambled long enough. Let's actually talk about the mission. This is Life Raft. So no tactical support options because that was a genuinely bad design from Corvus Belli. I could not care less about it. And let's look at the main objectives. So there's 9 points up to grab here. You get 2 points for killing more army points than your adversary. This is a killing game. At the end of each game round, you dominate the Life Raft. So that's a total of 3 more points for a total of 5. So already by killing and having more points in the center, that's 5 points. To kill more army points than your adversary in the Life Raft. And this is basically the same as the Brawl, where you both need to kind of be in the Life Raft and kill them and kill things in it. So that's essentially 5 points on its own to dominate the Life Raft, but about 7 on board and sort of model domination. And then finally, at the end of the game, have an active sluice gate console, 1 objective point for each sluice gate, up to a 2 maximum, and then finally you have 1 classified. On deployment, you can see that this is a rather simple deployment. There's a lot of crap on it, but basically it's your standard 12-inch deployment zone with a box in the center, and then 12 inches from the side, 2 sluice gates, or 1 on each side. Let's talk about the scenario-specific rules, because this is the fun stuff and the reason why it is. The first special rule is electromagnetic flood. A failure in the containment protocols has caused a slow oncoming contaminated electromagnetic flood can prove fatal to those with advanced systems who are caught in it. In game turn, at the end of the 3rd round, models that are within the 3rd flood zone must be considered as if they were killed by the enemy. So it's like frostbite. This rule is not applied to all those troopers. What? I've written this very poorly. This rule is not applied to all those troopers whose type is light infantry, medium infantry, warband, skirmisher, and heavy infantry who are not hackable. If you're one of those types, you're fine. If you're not, then you have a problem. With the exception of those that are hackable through other means, such as models possession, the hacker, special rules, or have gained the hackable trait. In other words, if you have a light infantry that is a hacker, at the end of the game in the flood zone, they will die. If you have, say, a Ariadne non-hackable heavy infantry in the flood zone, they will be fine. If you have a Teutonic Knight, they will die. That is kind of the gimmick. If it is hackable and in the flood zone, it's dead at the end of the game. Let's talk about the flood zone, because there's actually some stuff to it and you might be trying to figure that out based on deployment. The electromagnetic flood zone. This flood is a mixture of electromagnetic quantum particles, I needed some sci-fi mumbo jumbo, and discharge from cooling system and grey water pipes, just because it's stanky. It is considered difficult terrain and terrain aquatic / 0G. So basically it's a terrain zone, and that's going to be a bit difficult to actually play on, but there is ways to get around that. Those troopers that possess Warhorse immunity at mobilization A or B may act as if they had terrain aquatic, and that idea is that you kind of don't really care about this junk. You're kind of better trained than to deal with what is going on in your systems and stuff like that. At the end of each game round, the flood area will advance to the following order in a 300-point game. The first time the flood advances, it will extend 8 inches from the edge of each table, which is essentially most of your DZ. The second time the flood advances, it will extend an additional 6 inches from the board edge, for a total of 14 inches. And then the third and final time the flood advances, it will extend an additional 2 inches for a total of 16 from the board edge. So you can see you're kind of really pushed in to the center of the board if you want to keep your big expensive PCs alive. Like a tag in this list is going to end up in the midfield, whereas your cheap stuff can stay in your DZ and you can sort of keep a lot of points there, but I think it kind of pushes the big stuff that you want to keep, and maybe you want to throw in the zone that can handle the dominating the Life Raft. You're going to have to keep moving it so it stays out of the area at the end of the game. However, this is sort of all predicated, you notice they didn't use rounds, they used the time. If an active sluice gate has been chosen to slow the flood this game round, and no other sluice gate has been chosen to accelerate the flood, then the flood area will not advance at the end of the game round. Once the new game round begins, the option to slow or accelerate the flood is reset from each sluice gate, and they must be activated again, or the flow must be redirected. However, the flood area will always expand at the end of the first game round, regardless if a sluice gate has been chosen to slow the flood. So functionally, what that means is that you sort of have a minor prisoner's dilemma where you're like, do I want it to expand this round so I can just accelerate the flood? And then, because it might benefit you, because you always have some of it affected by the flood, but it's really for that second, third round where it's like, can I kill more of my opponents by bringing in that flood zone a little further and do damage that way? And overall, it leaves you only with, like, I think it's a 16 by 16 space or something, maybe an 8 by 8. No, it's an 8 by 8 space at the end of the game where everything is safe. I might extend it further and I might change it, but right now that's sort of the kind of thought I want. So let's talk about activating the sluice gate, and it just kind of works like a normal console. It's a whip roll. You fail it, you can do it again. When you activate it, you mark it with your player A or B token, and you choose to either slow or accelerate the flood, and it can be stolen by the enemy. Next up is direct flow, which is a long skill. You must do it in sort of contact with a sluice gate that you already own, and you can just then choose to change if you want to slow or accelerate the flood. So if your opponent's slowing it, you can just like quit. If you've both slowed it and it turns out you actually want to accelerate it, you just spin the log scale and you swap it. But on specialist troopers, it's the usual lot. Sluice gates, they are placed on the line. Life Raft, that is basically just describing the ZO for dominating it, how to dominate it. This is no quarter, there is no retreat. You are trying to escape a flooding lab. How Shavasti works, how baggage works. HVTs aren't used. The bonus is for forward observer and engineers. I thought that was interesting. I know this mission is starting to like really favor Ariadna, but I have been playing that a lot recently. But forward observers are even like quite common in the other factions I play. Like military orders, I take 2 forward observer trins anyway. Tunguska I don't really take, but like I have Fiddler who's an engineer. Like it's a reasonable spread of stuff. I finally discusses killing, and finally the end of the mission at the end of the 3rd round. I think I've actually missed a bit on what describes killing in the Life Raft, but other than that, that's sort of the rundown of the mission. My idea is to essentially play the opposite of Frostbite. I think there's another custom mission out there called, I think it's Heat Stroke or something, where it's like the other way around. But I wanted movement. The problem I do foresee is that it does kind of promote static light infantry cores. Like if you just have 5, like 1 medium infantry with a sniper, 4 guys, one of them might be a hacker, you're still, at the end of the game, that's like 60 points safe. It's not like you can dig them out with heavy infantry. I'd be curious. I haven't played this yet. I want to play it. I'd be curious to see how it plays, but I think it will promote and push sort of everything into the set, hackables into the center, which does give an advantage to hacker heavy armies. But then hackers, while they are going to be essentially at the end of the game, they're going to die. So if you want to count their points, you're going to have to run them up the board. And as they get closer, other hacking armies can deal with it. And then, yeah, it might be a little strong in hackers. I think I might change it so that the flood turns off pictures or destroys pictures, so you can't just like picture your opponent. That was something I wanted to do. I think I'm going to play this, but it has like I think that's a known issue where hackable stuff can be quite overpowered. But conversely, you could in theory take a list that is so light on hacking because everything will then survive the flood zone. Like when I'm playing Cosmoflot and trying to build a list for Firefly, it's like I need to jam in more heavy infantry and more heavy infantry, more heavy infantry, just so I don't like everything doesn't die at the end when I cock up getting a console or whatever. So that's kind of the logic there, is that yes, hacking is going to be strong, but you're discouraged from taking hacking stuff anyway. I forgot to add the rule that was like, oh yeah, you to count as killing in the Life Raft and how that works. But if someone watches this, to be clear, both models should be in the Life Raft and wholly within it and counts as dominating or attempting to dominate. But yeah, that is the custom mission Life Raft. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Alright, well that was my video on my general thoughts on the out of production armies coming back, as well as the custom mission, the Life Raft. And hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you used the mission. If you do, let me know how it goes. Let me know if my fears are correct, if it's not very good. Other than that, I will see you in 10-ish days for a video on warbands that I think is going to be very interesting and very difficult at the same time. And hopefully you'll enjoy it, because it's going to be a good one. Like, it's another one of how the hell do you do warbands? And I'm trying desperately, I'm thinking currently through the script right now, how do I desperately not just say, you know, it's get good? But anyway, I have rambled long enough in my own outro that I have to outro my outro. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more, because that really helps out the channel. Also, thank you for watching the end of this video. That is really important to me at the moment. I'm very happy with how the channel is doing, but there has been a lot less watch hours on the channel, and that impacts things generally. So yeah, just thank you for watching the video. That is the biggest thanks I can give. Thank you for liking it. Thank you for subscribing. And if you want to see more, please come back. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time.